Hello, everybody. Tico Casmayor here with Irvans Augustine at the Strive305 Podcast. And my guest today is going to be difficult to interview because this guy I've known since he was, an itch in his dad's pants, I think. That's how far back. Since 14 years old, I think. He was a mentor to me back in the day.
Ago. 14?
Yes. Wow. Yeah. But was that was 15 years ago, right?
Yeah. Give or take.
Okay, so Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, all right? Back when I knew him, he came to, I got to tell stories. There's no way I'm not going to do stories. Let me give my thank yous first. Thank you to Mayor Levin Cava for having us here for the Strive305 initiative.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Manny Sid, for bringing us on board. This is all because of him. Our district commissioner today, since there's none to announce because he actually lives in Dallas now, we're going to use our old district commissioner when he lived in Miami Lakes. Yeah, we're going to go with
Ray. From Dallas?
Flew in.
That's amazing.
So we'll go with Senator Rene Garcia. That's my current and his old commissioner back in the day. All right, and then thank you to Wells Fargo for the support with the website. They always sponsor and maintain our website. And then again, Community News, Graham Miller, Michael Miller, and our host here today.
News, folks.
All right, now let me get going. Wait, first I'm going to read you guys what this guy has become thanks to me, because I was his first manager. You don't think so? But in high school...
Despite you.
No, not despite. In high school, he came to me, he goes, I want to be president of the class for senior year in high school. I go, why? He goes, because I have plans for my future, and I want to do this, and I want to do... And I look at him, I go...
you were that kid?
Yes, yeah. I go, who the hell plans for their future?
A born leader.
Future? My future is I can't wait to turn 18 and be able to, get an illegal license and start going to clubs. No, he had a plan since back then. So we did. I had a printing company. We printed posters. We overwhelmed. He won overwhelmingly, was the president of the class. Little did I know that the next step when he graduated, he takes off to college to go to Parker College to become a chiropractor. I remember that. Yeah. Oh my God, with so many stories. On his way to college, they stole his car, the U-Haul that he had in the back with all his stuff.
The whole U-Haul?
Everything. They left him with nothing on his way to college. So that was his first challenge in life. Yeah. I still remember that.
Welcome to the U.S.
Yeah. When he graduated college and became a doctor, he calls me. He goes, hey, I've never opened a business. What do you do for business? Like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That's second nature for me. I flew over there and we started it, and I learned a bunch. I learned that everybody over there calls each other, hey girlfriend, hey boyfriend, the Dallas thing. I didn't know. But that's another little story that we can go off into a rampage. But after that, he became, watch. Yeah. It's okay. Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, I wrote this myself, no ChatGPT. I stole from his book, but I wrote it. So he is a world-renowned doctor of chiropractic. He a health and lifestyle expert with over 30 years of experience as a holistic health provider, author, and speaker. All right, now listen to this. His media appearances include shows like Dr. Phil. I mean, it's not us, but Dr. Phil's pretty popular. It's not you and me.
Very much so.
He's been on The Doctors. He's been on CNN News, Fox News, Univision, Telemundo, Televisa. He's lectured in almost all our states, United States, and been in 25 countries, correct?
Yeah.
And when they bring you on these shows, it's for information on everything that you do. You're like an advisor to all these shows.
But you don't practice chiropractic?
No, I don't practice anymore. My goal is to really teach people what are the basic fundamentals to really have the optimum health that everybody's wanting, but very few people ever achieve it.
Amazing.
Okay, now can I keep going? You guys interrupted me? All right. Okay, he's an international best-selling author. Back in high school, he didn't know how to write. And now he's an author of books such as The Power of Self-Healing and Chicken Soup for the Chiropractic Soul. Remember the chicken soups?
Yeah.
Yes, I have one of those autographed. By the way, I'm waiting for the day he dies. I'm going to sell that shit for tons of money. Anyway, Chiropractic Soul, he's the host of a radio show with Hay House, Self-Healing with Dr. Fab. He has a podcast, the Fab Life. Again, not our podcast, but, he'll catch up soon. And he's got his own TV series, Thriving in the New Normal.
Thriving.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my God, there's more. Thriving in the New Normal. Oh, became one of the youngest presidents at the College of University, Parker College. So he
university president?
Yeah, I know this story, too. Wow. So he was at the university. and he became friends with Dr. Parker.
Yeah, he was my
He
mentor.
was his mentor. So, of course, his mentor. In high school, I was his mentor. In university, Dr. Parker was his mentor.
He downgraded to a university president? From
Correct.
you?
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you, Irvans. I thought for a second that you were saying it the other way around. So after that, he then becomes the president of that college. Could you imagine?
That's amazing.
And I remember my father getting sick, having an issue. I called him. He tells me, come to my event in Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was. So it was a health event
Yeah.
in Vegas. And I took my dad over there because, he was freaking out. He had something. I forget what he had back then. But he was freaking out. And, and then we went there. I met Wayne Dyer,
Yeah.
which was one of my favorite motivational. I had all his back then
speaker.
CDs,
Yeah.
and I would listen to him in my car driving. I met him personally. I met Fab. All the people introduced Les Brown, all these cool people, and then my
Stephen
The
Covey.
motivational speaker.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, he's good friends.
Yeah.
Then during the Vegas thing, he met somebody, and he ends up going to Chicago and training on how to eat
Yeah.
and how to drink, and he cured himself
Yeah.
doing all of that methods. And I know because it drove me nuts because my dad's like, "What are you doing? You don't drink water while you're
Yeah.
eating. You drink water before. All these things that he'd learned and after, never why, all this crazy stuff."
Wow.
So we did that. He did that for me. And then, I can't even, let me see, the president of Mexico named the library UNEVE University after him. And then he also mentors over 100 CEOs and serves as a global consultant to companies, which is the reason you're in South Florida, right?
Yeah.
He's doing
Having
one of
an
these
event,
events.
yeah.
And I've been to one of those. So you sit there and you go through 4-day course and you leave there and you want to conquer the world when you sit there for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then you could even join and he becomes your mentor for a period of time, right? If you
Yeah,
want to.
if you want.
No, incredible stuff. So imagine this is the resources that I've had my whole life, and I've been
now
milking
you're
them.
here today.
And here I am today doing a podcast.
The highlight of my life, I'm telling you. I'm adding this to my bio
Well,
right there.
You can put that on the back of your book.
This, by the way, this is his book in the middle.
Do you want Tico to autograph this
We
for you?
I'll
just
autograph it.
released this book 5 weeks ago.
brand new
you
book.
just released it.
Yeah, just came out. This is my 5th book.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? So this is like the perfect story of where the student outdoes the master or the trainer or the teacher. That's it. Because look at us now. We have a podcast with millions and millions of viewers. And of course, I know it's all because of Irvans, but I take the credit like I do for everything else. I take the credit. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop with stories. I'm not going to even bring up the lentejas story or anything like that, which is something that's a private story. But what I want to talk about, I want you to talk about, because you're a great speaker and I want everybody to experience what it is you do. Teach us, again, like I said, this is about small business. Strive305 is to help the small business community, to help them grow, to help them figure out how to survive in the way the county is and the way the world is in business. But the best way to survive as a businessman, I'm telling you this because I'm going through crazy amounts of things right now, is mental health.
Yeah.
Is being healthy and
health,
having
yeah.
physical but everything, the stress. And this is the knowledge you're going to get right now. So I'm going to let you guys do your little riff thing, but let him talk as much as possible, Irvans. Please. I'm going to share my issues. I have to know it's impossible for me to stop, especially with my best friend. I've had issues with family. I have business issues right now. I have it with employees. I have personal issues. I have the stress of everybody needing my help and me wanting to help everybody. How do I not pass out or die?
Well, one of the things that we have to recognize, especially when it comes to business, and I've been teaching this to my children since they were 5 years old. First of all, is you have to identify something you're passionate about. Because most billionaires will tell you that success is work. But it doesn't feel like work when you have a passion and you tend to love it. Right. And that's a big difference. And you'll hear that from pretty much all the most successful people out there. But the second thing that a lot of people omit is not just that I'm doing what I love, it's identifying a business model that allows you to earn the lifestyle that you want to live. I can show you pretty much in every model, whether you're a garbage collector or whether you are somebody that is in security or whether it's somebody that is a doctor or a lawyer or somebody that is just an entrepreneur, they are business models that will equal a level of income. So if I want to make $100,000 a year and that's my income, I can actually live very comfortable with that. But if I want to make $3 million or $10 million or $100 million a year, there are business models that would allow you to do that. So those are the two basic foundations that I really begin every relation with, is allowing people to understand those two things.
How do you balance the first piece that you mentioned of finding passion and also connecting that to a business model that will help you get to where you want to be?
So where your passion lies is determined on two things: where you spend your time and where you spend your money. It's that simple. If you show me your credit card bill or your bank statement, I would pretty much tell you where your passion is. The problem is most people talk themselves into, this is my passion and I want to do this. Like, I give an example. You can have people that say, yeah, health is my passion. But then I look at their bills and they don't have a membership to a gym. They don't buy organic food. They don't invest in technology that allows them to know how many hours of sleep they have, or potentially what their heart blood pressure is, etc. So I look at where they spend their time, their money, and then I start looking and I ask them, I say, write down for me how you spend every single day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. And how you spend your day will dictate for me what you value in life. So if you're a parent and you say, oh yeah, I'm working so hard because I love my family, but then I look at your day and you hardly spend any time with your significant other, any time with your children, any time with your parents, I can tell you you're fooling yourself. That is not your priority. You're addicted to work. You're not addicted to your family. So just be honest. I love to work, and my family comes second. But if you're going to say your family is first and that's the reason I'm going to do this, you better make sure that your money and your time is dedicated to them.
What if people argue and say they have to do it for the work to be? It's not because they choose to, but they have to.
I know, but how many billionaires have I interviewed over my 38-year professional career that have told me that because of the sake of the money, their children won't speak? In fact, I had a guy that hired me about 2 years ago, I think it was. He was one of the most successful doctors in Dallas. He had 8 clinics. The guy was making in each clinic an average of $3 million a year in each clinic. And then he said to me, I want to hire you. And I said, why? What do you need from me? He said, well, my wife doesn't love me. It doesn't matter what I give to her, multiple houses, all the jewelry in the world. I don't feel the connection we have when we first started going out. My children won't even talk to me. They're busy in their thing and all that. And then I had to coach him and show him, okay, well, show me how much time are you spending with them. Show me how you making them a priority. Because at the end of the day, that's what your significant others want. I've seen a lot of billionaires that I can tell you that they've gone from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. And I said, look, all I can tell you is that a man or a woman, what they're interested in more than anything is the way you look at them when you first started courting them. If you lose that look, if you lose that sense of urgency, if you stop taking care of yourself now because you're married or because you've been together for 20 years, all of those things will add up to losing interest on each other. And when you lose interest on each other, guess what happens? Temptation sets in. All of a sudden, you're sending a different vibe out there. Now people are coming on to you and approaching you when before they didn't, because it was obvious you were in love with your significant other. Those are the things that I find that are really where people are struggling when it comes to maintaining their relationships long term.
What about on the in Miami-Dade County, we have a majority of small businesses,
yeah,
like people who make less than $5 million or
yeah,
have only 2 or 3 employees. How do you, how would you coach somebody to balance, to get to the level that you're talking about right now, where they have a different set of problems, but they may not see the ability to have a passion because they're so busy working or so busy being pulled in many directions? Not because of lack of money, not because of money, because the
demands of the business.
The demands of the business and being pulled in many different directions.
Well, the main thing to understand is the truly successful people spend time in the things that they are very good at and delegate the rest. This is a challenge for most business entrepreneurs. We are a one-stop shop. We feel that if anything needs to get done, guess what? I'm the only one to get done. Right now, we have entities like Fiverr that you can hire people for very little money to pretty much create anything you need to create, whether it's graphics, whether it's database collection. It doesn't matter what you need. You can find it. So one of the things that I would do is identify what's your highest value. Right? I learned from Tony Robbins when I was 22 years old that my value comes from the level of contribution that I make to other people's life. You know, that's why I don't believe in retirement. I retired twice professionally, but I'm harder at work today than ever because I realized that my value comes from what I can contribute today to the people out there. And once I understand what that value is, you know, so if you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO of your own company, you have to value your leadership because everybody depends on your leadership. And a lot of times I've seen CEOs that delegate that leadership to their second and third and fourth in command and not necessarily being the person they need to be for that role. I also see people that are spending a lot of time doing things that are mundane things that you can hire somebody at a lower clerical level. But no, they say, oh, I got to create this and I got to create that instead of delegating it to somebody out there that's their passion. And the other one I would say is when you schedule your day, just make sure that even if you spend the first couple of minutes of the day with your loved ones and maybe get home at a decent time that you can spend the last minutes of the day with your loved ones, maybe that's all that is required to keep that balance. You know, raising two children in a very busy environment that I've had all my life, I can tell you that it's about quality of time and not quantity of time. I'll give you an example. Kids, what they want to know is that mom and dad are accessible when I need them. You know, it's not a matter of spending all your day with your kids, but not really connecting with them. But if my child needed me, right, and it happened to one of my children was in a circumstance where he needed to call me and ask me for advice. So he was invited to be able to go at a party at 15 years old to go get some ice at 7-Eleven. And his friends, he's a tennis pro, so his friends took him, and here are the top tennis players in the United States, and one of the guys decides to roll a joint out. They park at 7-Eleven and start smoking that. And a cab came, my son called me, and I said, get out of the car, and then I'll come pick you up. Well, the friends, they stayed there doing that, and they were taken in. And because they were taken in, the parents were called, and they were both let off of the tennis team because of the example that they were setting the younger kids. My son saved himself because I picked up the phone. Yeah. So it doesn't matter in my life who I have in front of me, and I've been with popes and presidents and ministers. I can tell you, I will always pick up the phone when my kids call me. And we trained each other is that I would always say, hey, honey, I'm in a meeting right now. How can I help? And they will say, oh, Dad, I can call you back. Or they would tell me what it is that they need if it's urgent. And they've never abused that. And that has allowed us to stay connected in such a way that they've always known that Dad and Mom are always going to be there, making sure that we are available when they need us.
That's great advice. And it is those simple things of just being available, and especially for the people who are important to you and close to you, like you were saying, and setting that priority. I was going to ask you the other question of, like, when you were going to medical school or as a chiropractor, and then you ended up calling Tico for advice about starting a business, how did you decide to make that shift from being in the medical field to starting your own business?
Well, the main thing is that when you graduate from chiropractic school or medical school, typically you start a practice. And even though I had Dr. Parker, which was the most successful chiropractor that ever lived, at the same time I knew Tico had been raised not only with a dad that encouraged his children to be part of a business early on, which is a wonderful attribute, by the way, to involve your children into your workforce and let them see your ups and downs. Because children of successful parents have a hard time being successful themselves because they never think they can live up to the expectations of the success of a parent. But when you're raised with a child that has been in your business and have seen the ups and downs, which I have raised my children the same way, now all of a sudden those children, instead of feeling like they can't accomplish it, they get excited because they feel like they're ahead of all the other kids. So Tico was always ahead of everybody in our class because Tico had been working for a long time. Even as students, I remember going to the printing shop and Tico working while we were going out, and he had to stay back. Why? Because that's the way that, his father raised him. So that's one thing. So when I called Tico, it was mostly to say, hey, man, you've been in business all this time. This is my first work. This is my first business. I've never owned a business. And that's when he said, why don't I just fly over there and then you share with me what it is that you're thinking. And we came up with a great plan. And my first year in business, we made $800,000.
Wow.
And I started in an executive suite paying $250 rent with $100 to use the phone. That's how humble beginnings I started. But I realized very quickly that when you put a really good model in place, and let me tell you what a good model in place is, do not spend more than you make, right? So I started with a portable table instead of buying a $7,000 or $8,000 fancy table. I started with a used computer instead of buying the latest computer. I borrowed my desk, from the lady that owned the executive suite. So I started very humbly understanding that, and I got a loan. I got a loan for $75,000 that I never used because I realized that I wasn't going to spend if I didn't have it. And that's worked really well. So that's one of the basic understandings of business. Spend less than you make. And number two, make sure that you're learning from your experiences. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, it's a lonely job. I mean, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur, right? But a lot of people choose to work for companies, and even though, the days that they were with a company for years, those are over, right? People are switching almost every year from company to company.
Yeah, that's true.
It's important to recognize one thing, that a company is fine because you don't want to have the realization that owning a business can be a little bit more challenging than if you work and get a paycheck. The problem with a paycheck is that you will never be able to provide to yourself and your loved ones the quality of life that many people want to provide. And that's what entrepreneurs figured out. It takes as much effort to work for somebody else than it works for yourself. But it's a little riskier to work with yourself. So make sure that you're choosing an industry that you truly understand. Make sure that you are picking a business that you truly understand. Because I've seen, for instance, friends of mine that make a little bit of money in one business, and then they decide, I'm going to start buying franchises, and they lose everything in the franchises and the one business that is generating money. Why? Because instead of reinvesting in what's working, they decided to go outside into an industry that they didn't understand. And that's a risk in itself. So I think it's important to make sure that if you look around and you see the models out there that attract you, if you have friends or loved ones, or even individuals, like anytime I go into a new an endeavor, I try to identify the 3 people that have been very successful in that, and I call them and I interview them. I say, hey, listen, I have a podcast. I'd love to interview you. And most people are more than generous to be able to give you their secrets. And that you can learn from other people. So I am not motivated by pain. I am motivated by pleasure. Unfortunately, a lot of people have to go through a lot of pain to learn lessons. I don't. I look at what other people are doing very successful, and I just model those behaviors. And yes, from time to time, I make my own mistakes, but they're my greatest lessons in disguise. So I look at them like that.
That's interesting. Not motivated by pain, motivated by pleasure.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
It's a lot more fun.
No,
it's obvious, but it's not what people do.
No, it's not.
And you, like his doctor said, you see it all the time.
Everyone chooses to do things
and if they're feeling too good, something is wrong. Something is wrong. I'm not suffering enough. Yeah. What's going on? Why is everything not happening the right way? And then they choose to suffer.
Well, we can talk a little bit about self-worth, because one of the things that I've identified, and Tico, you said it a little bit earlier, your mindset has a lot to do with your success, because your mindset is where your belief system lives. So, for instance, if I was raised with parents that could barely afford and had to get 2 jobs to barely provide, maybe I have a belief system that could be my own reality, right? So unless I upgrade that belief system and I start tapping into your belief system that you had a similar background than me, but all of a sudden now you're a huge success, what is it that you did that I haven't even considered doing? So when I tap into that belief system, now all of a sudden I'm understanding that it's possible. And when you upgrade your belief system, guess what happens? It automatically gives you a behavior that is a new behavior that will yield a new outcome. That is how simple as it works.
How does that look like in practice? Like tapping into somebody else's belief system? Like how, because many times people can see what somebody else is doing,
Yeah.
but it doesn't translate.
Okay, so in order to transform, you have to do, right? So when the book Think and Grow Rich came about, Napoleon Hill impacted millions of lives, but very few people ever made wealthy, became rich because of that book. Because the mindset is only one thing, right? You can't just think wealth. So what I've learned when I was in Parker, I was a student, right? In student loans. And I went into, and Dr. Parker decided to mentor me. Now, this guy is the most successful chiropractor that ever lived. And what I realized is that if I can just watch his behavior, I can tap into his belief. If I have conversations with him and I would say, well, Dr. Parker, how did you come up with that? You know, how come as a student you had your own practice at the same time and you pay for your schooling while you were working? Now, we can't do that now, but in those days you could. What was it why did you start this business when everybody else failed? What made you successful? So now I'm tapping into the mindset, the behaviors of that individual, and now I'm beginning to say, well, maybe I can be as successful as him. So I give you, what happened to me was very simple. I graduated from school. Before I called Tico, right, because I called Tico after, Dr. Parker had negotiated for me to run a practice in Belgium, Europe for 1 year. And he negotiated for me that they were going to pay me $10,000 a month, working 3 days a week, 6-hour days. They gave me a house, a car, a housekeeper. So I lived in their house. So I didn't have any expense. I paid all my student loans within my first year. Then I come back and Dr. Parker says, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I want to pioneer chiropractic and natural healing in Latin America. I'm going to start with Colombia because my parents are from there and I can start there. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Parker looks at me and says, no, you're not ready for that. Why don't you come work with me? And I said, well, what can you offer me, Dr. Parker? And he said, well, why don't I make you director of admissions, right? Because admissions is where the majority of the money is for a university or a college, right? The tuition money. And why don't I make you assistant to me? And that way you can be around me and really learn from me. So I did that for 2.5 years. And guess what he offered me? I said, I'll pay you $1,000 a month, working 17-hour days, 7 days a week. And I would have paid him for that opportunity. See, a lot of entrepreneurs right now, they're going into business without actually having an apprenticeship, learning from somebody that has actually done what they want to do. So they invest their own money, and unfortunately, many times they borrow the money to start a new business, and over 80% of them fail within the first year. Why is that? Because they don't have the foundation to make good choices. The judgment that you learn from successful people is the most valuable thing you can learn. So because of that, 2.5 years, I wasted all of my savings. I had $1,200 in my bank account, and I said, man, I need to get back to practice. I need to start making some money, right? I had paid my student loans, $1,200 in the bank. That's why I started an executive suite, because I couldn't afford it. 9 banks rejected me. The 10th bank gave me $75,000 once I was in practice. And because of that, 6 years later, now I'm serving in the position that Dr. Parker had at 70 years old. I became the youngest president of a university in the United States at 33 years old. Why? Because of watching him. And now here I am, this young kid that has no history, having the most powerful position in an industry that's growing like chiropractic. And it was all because I chose to be mentor. I chose to sacrifice my short-term gain for the long-term payoff. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing missing in today's entrepreneur.
Yeah.
They want the quick payoff without necessarily understanding that the short-term sacrifices can be the biggest payoff that they can have just a few months and maybe even a couple of years later.
And the other aspect of that, too, is like Dr. Parker was willing to mentor you. A lot of times here, and like you could speak to that too, Tico, of like many times people see competition of other people in their field,
yeah,
and it becomes adversarial.
Yeah.
And then as opposed to like one of the amazing things I've learned working with Tico is like you can help people and you still grow, right? Many times, and people don't do that. And so I think that's one of the other aspects of that's amazing is your story of someone willing to be mentor. And I think that's also something we should tell a lot of our Strive305 ambassadors to be open
in
to
our new businesses, yeah.
Being open to mentoring people, being open to partnering, because it doesn't necessarily always take away from you, and you can get more.
It's funny you say. I said that 2 days ago to somebody. I'm in a networking group. Well, one of my networking groups is called BNI, and those things they limit.
I know the
you.
founder, Ivan.
Yeah,
is a dear friend. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you got to tell him that his best BNI.
Okay, I'll connect you.
So they. But they restrict. They allow one person of industry in each group.
Right.
So sometimes you get 2 or 3 people applying. I had one time 2 friends apply for the same role. The other one got very upset that he didn't get let in, and it was like a war between them because they're in the same neighborhood. I go, no.
Yeah.
Become his friend. Work together. They haven't, but others have, and the ones that have blow up. Every time they bring in somebody that does what I do into the BNI, they ask, oh, is it okay? Of course, bring them.
Yeah.
They usually end up either working with me or working for me, or we work together and growing doing work together because it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's why I am where I am today, believe it or not, sitting here. In my town, the chamber, the Economic Development Committee, the mayor's office, the town, and the BNI didn't speak to each other. They all thought they were competition.
Yeah.
I go, that makes no sense. You're all about helping business in the community. So they asked us to take over the chamber. The first thing we did was
befriend organizations. They're not even like businesses.
And some are volunteer. So the first thing we did was befriend this person, befriend that company. Put them all together. Next thing I know, the mayor's asking me to do ribbon cuttings with him because he wants my annoying, my annoying personality to be there because then he can be the funny one and I'm the annoying one. And it worked out great.
Yeah.
To this day, we get calls about, no, we need the ribbon cutting, but it's got to be you and the mayor so that we can get the whole vibe and the whole thing. And then we went to the town and go to the town. Look, the mayor's office in the town. Let's get these things published on Instagram. The town has 40,000 followers. Let's get these businesses on there. Now they're getting instant exposure. So the chamber, the same thing. Let's bring the chamber people to these ribbon cuttings. Yeah. Let's bring the BNI. So now when we do a ribbon cutting, we got the president of the chamber, we got the mayor of the town, we've got the councilman, we've got the BNI group, and they're all promoting the small business, and we're all one. And it was incredible. I couldn't believe that was not the case all the time. Yeah. But that's how it is with government because of stupid little ego.
Well, everybody's into an island. One of the things that Tico and I talked about, when I opened my practice, the first check I wrote was to the leasing of the executive suite. Second check I wrote was to the Chamber of Commerce because I had seen Tico always promoting that, and my dad always was a big proponent of that.
Yeah, your dad. I remember.
So when I opened my practice, the next week the Chamber was having a mixer with about 300 people. So the third check I wrote was to print cards. So I went into that chamber, and I learned a very interesting thing that it's more important to take a card than to give one. So I will go to you and I say, hey, listen, tell me a little bit about you. Always start with the other person. You would tell me about your business. And then I would say, oh, man, that is so great. You know what? I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I just opened my practice, and this is my mission. This is what I want to do for people. Would you consider giving me your card? I'm going to create a referral board for all of my patients, and, man, I'd love to refer some patients to you, right? So now I'm thinking of your best interest at hand. So when the psychology with that is now all of a sudden you say, well, why don't you give me your card, also. So I came back home with 125 cards out of the 300. So I worked the room pretty well that night.
Yeah.
And then in those days, we didn't have internet, so I wrote a letter. And I would say, hey, Tico, man, it was a great meeting you last night. Congratulations on your printing shop and for all of your success. I just want you to know that I would be honored if I will become your doctor of chiropractic for you and your family and friends. And if there's anything that I can do, or any questions you have about your health, just know now you have a doctor friend of yours that you can call anytime. I got 27 new patients my first week because of that 125 that I wrote that letter to. And that's what we profited from day one. So I'm a big believer of the chamber. I was the chairman of the health committee of my chamber. I was on the board. And then I was the founder of the Hispanic Chamber. And the reason that I founded the Hispanic Chamber, because I realized that all of us want to have our own chamber, but we don't leverage the resources of our major chamber in the city.
Right.
So instead of creating a separate entity, I created a division within the main chamber. So now our Hispanic business owners can tap into the resources of the major chamber of commerce and not necessarily the Hispanic chamber over here that can barely afford their computers.
Right.
That they have a staff of 3.
Right.
You know? No, I want to be in the big chamber, and I want to have access to Coca-Cola and Frito-Lay and all of these companies. Why am I over here in this little place? Why? Because the egos. Because many times the people want to feel like, oh, no, we're different, distinct, and we're going to get these deals and all that. But it takes years to get some of those contracts. And you can do the same contracts with a bigger chamber because they already have contracts. And now you have the division of that community that needs to be represented. But now you're not an island out here. You're part of the big dog.
Yeah.
Right? And that's something that worked really well. And I managed that for like about 3.5 years. And then I had to let it go to somebody else. And unfortunately, it never grew to the degree that it grew when I was there because leadership is everything. But the model worked really well.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm realizing here? Remember how you mentioned about where you grow your parents and what you grow up in? That's what is your reality?
Yeah.
I just realized that my reality is friendships with him. Everything he's saying there is like, have you not heard me say most of those things?
Yeah.
It's like it comes from him, from us together, all these years of me listening to him, reading his books and going to his things. Because I'm a baby Fab. I'm not a baby Graham Miller. I always thought I was a baby Graham Miller. I'm a baby Fab. Maybe I'm like a morph between the two.
About the same. More than one thing can be true at the same time.
Well, it's so funny because Tico and I spent a lot of time together in high school, and I always admire his discipline. You know, he's always had a tremendous work ethic and great in serving and helping others. But I can tell you that the greatest story I can share with him is that one time Tico will come to my house a lot, and I would go to his house, and he would eat at my house, and he would always come with this car that had, I don't know how many speakers, but it was a lot of speakers. And the woofers, you can hear them a mile away coming into my neighborhood. And then my parents gave me a car for high school, and then he helped me go to the store, and we put this big subwoofers, 18 speakers in the car, and it was a nightclub.
We would get to the school and everybody knew we were coming.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back in the days, cars had louvers, those things in the back, they vibrate.
Oh, yeah, the back.
The vibration.
The back will vibrate. And
okay, that's not a story that I'm proud to share.
No, and my hearing is definitely
not good
been impacted because of
I
it.
think that was every other person in the 80s.
We had cassette tapes, too.
Yes.
Remember the cassette, the mixes? And then the fancy guys like Fab that knew all the DJs at the clubs would actually get his mixes from the DJs at the clubs. So, you know, he had the best music.
No, we had a great time. And, you know, the 80s in Miami, as you know, were a lot of fun. And you know, this city is vibrant. This city has so many opportunities for people, but you got to be hungry. You know, my mentor, I never asked him to mentor me. He said one time, like 12 years later, I had the guts to ask him, why? Why did you choose me and not your own children? You had children that you could have given all this to. He said, because I don't see myself in them. They're not hungry like you are. I was a sponge. I mean, I didn't grow up with chiropractic. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted the business. I wanted the philosophy. I wanted the science. I wanted everything. And he was ready to give that to somebody. And unfortunately, he didn't give it to his children.
Yeah. But you found somebody in you, so I think that's something.
And not only that, but then because of me, the legacy that he left behind, I was very instrumental in making sure that his businesses, right, the university, the seminars, they're now thriving because of all the work that we did. 13 and a half years that I was leading it. I'm president emeritus now, but and now it continues to grow because I always felt that I needed to honor what he gave me. And I wanted his legacy to live forever. Hopefully, maybe one day one of my students will do the same for me. But at the same time, I just felt like I owed him that. And that was what, it's interesting because I've often said that if we live our lives like God is watching, we will make typically better choices than otherwise, right? We need some accountability. For some people, it's their parents or their grandparents, right? They think about them and say, well, how would they feel if I do this, right? Sometimes it's their value system. Sometimes it's their expectations of, yes, you can do better, you can be better. Whatever it is, I've always felt like in my professional career as a chiropractor, I had Dr. Parker's little voice next to me, making sure that he was guiding me and supporting me and making sure that I never shortchanged myself, that I always was thinking bigger than I was because that's what he saw in me. In those days as a young student, I couldn't see myself doing all of the things that I did later. So he saw in me as a mentor what I couldn't see in myself in my own reality. So the event that I'm having here in Fort Lauderdale this weekend is I mentor about 267 CEOs, and we're going to be at Fort Lauderdale. And actually, I have a couple of free tickets for anybody out there that is looking for a mindset and a behavior and to surround themselves with some of the most successful people in business, especially in healthcare, that if they want to come as compliment of you guys for listening and for being here, they can just text me 214-642-4911, 214-642-4911. If they text me and say, hey, I want the free tickets, I will make sure that they get in as compliments of you. The tickets go for $1,500 and $3,000, and it's 2.5 days. It's from Thursday, 1 o'clock, until Saturday at 5 o'clock. And you can come and go if you want to, but if you can come the whole time, I can promise you this, you will live a transformed business person. The success in that room, we do speed networking where you get to meet everybody in the room even before we begin. So that way you realize who's in the room, from billionaires to very successful CEOs to the biggest practices in America, all there wanting to learn, wanting to grow, because successful people never stop growing. Like I have one of my most successful friends, and she said, Fab, most people pray for comfort. I pray for uncomfort every day because if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not growing. And I tell you, that resonated with me because in reality, I have never grown for comfort. I have never grown from my successes. I've learned from my challenges because that's what pushes you beyond your comfort zone to recognize that all of us have a greater potential inside of us that we're living. And that's really what the Fab Life Mentorship is all about, is finding that potential that maybe you don't even recognize you have it. Maybe you see it in others. And maybe you ask yourself, why them and not me? Well, I'm here to tell you, it is because of you. And if you learn these formulas and understand what others have done, then all of a sudden now you're empowered to recognize you have the same capabilities as anyone else.
Okay, wait a second. He just mentioned that he's giving away something on behalf of Strive305, which is you and me, Irvans. And so whoever takes these tickets and uses them and becomes great can come back one day and say it'll be thanks to me again. Right?
I think you're 100%
there we go.
Right.
Fab, let's say that one more time. Here, that camera right there. Tell everybody again how to contact you for those tickets.
Okay, take out your phone right now and go into your text and dial 214-642-4911. 214-642-4911, and just say, I want the free tickets, and I will make sure that you get them.
That's
Excellent.
amazing.
And then
Thanks
reach
so
out
much.
to Strive305 after the event.
Yeah,
So you can
let
come
us
out.
know-
We'll
let
host
us
you.
know how it goes.
We'll have him as a guest to see how
I'm
it
going to
was.
come back, man. This is too much fun with you guys.
No, you totally can. Last thing I was going to ask you is like, you mentioned it's your 5th book that you've written.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write it, and where can people find it?
Well, I noticed that there was a missing thing out there, which is people are hearing that 76% of the American public is struggling with chronic disease. So chronic disease is like heart conditions, cancer, arthritis, diabetes, obesity, chronic pain, you name it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a book that empowered the individual to recognize that the only way that we can reverse chronic disease is by making a better choice today when it comes to our health than I did yesterday. Because the reality of it is, imagine this, and in the book I illustrate this, you're born and you're given a backpack. And every time you make a bad decision, like eating processed foods, not sleeping long enough, over drinking, overeating, surrounding yourself with negative people, all of the things that we do wrong, it's like putting rocks in your backpack. But whenever you make a good decision, it's like taking the rocks away from your backpack. So you can live with chronic disease, but it doesn't have to be unbearable. The problem right now is that if you pass 60 years old, the average American has 3 to 4 chronic diseases. Now, I'm going to be 60 in November, so I can tell you I'm reversing the clock because I made some good choices. I removed a lot of those rocks from my backpack, and that is the secret to what people call today longevity. Longevity is all about making better choices. So I tell in the book, I say, look, health is a choice. It's your choice. You want to be healthier, make better choices. So I unpack in every chapter the most popular things. I even talk about the benefits of peptide, stem cells, all of the things that people hear about, cryotherapy, cold plunging. What is the science behind all of that? And what is it that I can do that science has proven that can help me live a healthier lifestyle, even if I make those decisions? And all I'm asking them to do is to make one better choice today than I did yesterday when it comes to their health. And if they do that, they will be inspired to make better choices every single day, and that's how you reverse chronic disease.
Amazing. And where can people find the book?
It's on Amazon.com. You can find it anywhere. And I'm telling you, we just launched it 5 weeks ago, and I've been in 16 cities in the last 5 weeks promoting it, and it's just gone amazing. I've done really well with all of my books, but this book will break every record of anything I've done because there's not a more relevant topic today than somebody that's struggling with their health and they don't know what to do.
That's amazing. Thank you
Look
so
at
much.
your little banner down there. So you're not going to get out of this.
214-642-4911, not 612.
642.
Yeah, 642-4911. Yeah.
Okay. Do you realize how much trouble we're in, Irvans? We're
Trouble for-
like way over. I told you it was going to happen.
time?
No.
No, this is
20
great
minutes ago, I think
this
we
is
went
great
over.
information.
Grant
This is
Miller.
amazing.
Grant Miller is going to probably just send us a bill for this one, but it's okay. It was worth
He
it.
can't catch both of us. We cannot.
There we go. 214-642-4911.
Yes.
Get that tickets. Call Irvans and at Urban Impact Labs and tell them you want to get on the show because you went and did this with Fab. All right, I love it. We got to go. Fab, I love you, my friend. I love you, my
Thank you, brother.
I wanted you to meet Irvans too.
Yes,
This
thank
is
you,
my
man.
new brother.
I appreciate it.
The
Thank
poor
you so
guy
much.
Such a
has been
pleasure.
suffering me for 32 weeks now.
Well, and congratulations on all your success, man. You guys are on fire, and you're bringing
It's
a
all
lot
him.
of value to people.
It's all Tico.
Tell him. Thank you, my friends. All right. Thank you, everybody. Anthony, get me out of here.